This version of Earth is wrecked by a sickness called Randolph syndrome. People who catch it lose their minds and fall into this never-ending sleep. Folks think it's caused by the rise of some underground civilization called Asylum. This place is in Antarctica, and it's crawling with all kinds of freaky creatures you'd never see on normal Earth. Not everyone knows about Asylum or the serious threat it brings to humanity. Guess the phrase living under a rock fits this situation perfectly. There's a group of military fighters called Sleepers who go into Asylum on missions to take out monsters and handle business. Our not-so-bright main guy is Shigeru Daniel Kai. Yeah, 3 names, go figure. Daniel sees an ad looking for Sleepers and decides to sign up. When the interviewer asks why he wants the job, Daniel just says he wants to be a hero. Word spreads fast in the military and among the Sleepers. Daniel's the first guy dumb enough to apply for the job just because he wants to be a hero. Still, he gets accepted because his aptitude score is a B. Even so, the higher-ups think no platoon will want him. But surprise, the commander of Platoon 11, Vera, steps up and offers to take him under her wing. Daniel shows up at Platoon 11's base, totally clueless that they've got a prank waiting for him. As soon as he opens the door, he gets blasted by a celebration gun. The guy behind it, Larry, is a platoon member who loves messing with newbies. Daniel just stands there frozen like a statue until everyone realizes he's actually passed out. When Daniel comes to, he's greeted by the platoon's executive officer, Leslie. Even Leslie is shocked that Daniel became a sleeper just because he wants to be a hero. That's definitely a first. Leslie takes him to the gate and asks if he knows what being a sleeper really means. Daniel thinks it's all about exploring resources in Asylum, but it turns out there's way more to it. Leslie doesn't spill the details yet, telling Daniel he'll find out once he steps into Asylum. Leslie decides to lay down the rules for Daniel if he wants to survive and have a decent time as a sleeper. Rule number 1, ditch all hope, because hope doesn't exist in the Asylum. Rule 2, take responsibility for yourself. Rule 3, don't die. Dead people are just a pain, and nobody wants to deal with that. Rule 4, don't hesitate. Right when Leslie's about to spill the last rule, the platoon gets called up. Daniel's left to figure out the final rule on his own, if he makes it through the mission alive. Before heading into the Asylum, the team's sanity anchor, Sumire, gives Daniel a communication device that attaches to his head so they can all stay connected. The platoon heading in includes Leslie, Daniel, Kobato, and Larry, while Vera and Sumire stay back in the control room to oversee everything. Vera makes the big calls during the mission, and Sumire keeps tabs on the team and their progress. As Daniel steps into the Asylum, the place feels totally off. But that's kind of expected. It's his first day after all. It doesn't take long before they run into some creepy, messed up monster. Inside the Asylum, these monsters are all lumped under one name, Scared. This freaky creature is Daniel's not-so-warm welcome, and he quickly figures out that fighting these things is what being a sleeper is all about. The team gets into position to take on the monster. Sumire analyzes the situation and gives them the standard battle plan. While the squad tries to keep the monster under control, Leslie is the one who finishes it off. Meanwhile, Daniel stands there looking completely lost, and doesn't do much of anything until the fight is over. Afterward, Daniel apologizes for being useless, but Leslie doesn't chew him out. To Leslie, the fact that Daniel survived his first day is enough to count as a win. Later, Leslie fills Daniel in on the backstories of the other platoon members and why they became sleepers. Kobato lost part of her body and now uses advanced prosthetics, which led her to join up. Larry had a terrible accident that messed up his brain, leaving him unable to feel pain or fear. Everyone in the platoon has their own reason for being there. Leslie then asks Daniel why he joined. Expecting something different, Leslie is totally thrown when Daniel sticks to his original answer. He wants to be a hero. Right then, Sumire alerts the team to another platoon getting wrecked by a monster. They rush over to help but hit a wall when the monster proves to be a tough opponent. It takes out Kobato and Larry, leaving just Leslie and Daniel to deal with it. Remembering Leslie's earlier pep talk, Daniel finally steps up. He uses his laser targeting system to throw the monster off balance, giving Leslie the opening to take it down. When they return to the surface, Leslie lets Daniel know he's proud of him. Finally, Daniel properly introduces himself to the rest of the team. The team's next mission gets wild when they run into a scarred creature hiding out in quicksand. This thing pops up randomly, making it super dangerous. Sumire uses her skills to track the monster's heat signature and tells Kobato and Daniel to get ready. She gives them the exact location, but when the monster shows up, Daniel totally botches his shot, and the thing escapes again. Back on the surface, Sumire is pissed and lays into Daniel, telling him he needs to figure out what he's actually good at. Her words really hit Daniel hard, so he decides to ask Larry what he's good at. Larry, being his usual oddball self, says he's into brain chemistry. He's basically obsessed with learning everything about the human brain, and because he's kind of a weirdo, he does brain surgeries for fun. Yeah, you heard that right. He even offers to crack open Daniel's skull just to take a peek, but Daniel shuts that idea down real quick. Still feeling lost, Daniel asks Kobato for advice, but she's no help either. Later, he bumps into the commander, but she brushes him off like she's avoiding him or something. It's awkward, and Daniel can't figure out if he did something to piss her off in this life, or maybe even a past one. That night, Daniel sits outside in the freezing snow, feeling sorry for himself, until Leslie shows up. Daniel spills his feelings, and Leslie tells him he'll fit in with the team soon enough. Leslie also thinks Sumir's being icy toward Daniel because she's jealous of him. Turns out, Sumir used to be an idol, but her career totally flopped. She signed up to be a sleeper hoping to make a comeback, but she couldn't hack it in the asylum. That's why she's an anchor now, instead of a sleeper. People see sleepers as the real deal, while anchors are just support. Leslie cheers Daniel up, reminding him that dreams don't always match reality. Slowly, Daniel starts finding his groove with the team. One day, while cleaning out the storage room, he stumbles on an old article about Sumir from her idol days. He brings it up to her, complimenting her talent and saying she was amazing. But instead of being happy, Sumir gets super upset and storms off. Daniel is left standing there, totally confused about what he did wrong. Danny chats with Larry about the event, hoping to get his take on it. After listening to Danny, Larry lays it out straight. He says the person involved probably didn't want the subject brought up, or didn't appreciate Danny stepping into what they see as their turf. On top of that, Larry figures the person doesn't think Danny would really get it. And lastly, Larry thinks maybe they just don't like Danny. Hearing all this, Danny realizes Larry might be spot on with all 4 reasons. The next day, Danny decides to talk to Sumir again. This time, he owns up and apologizes for trying to figure her out without recognizing how hard she's been working to become a sleeper. He tells her that no matter what career path she chooses, she's going to crush it. Sumir still doesn't think Danny can truly understand what she's feeling, but before they can dive deeper into the convo, the team gets called up for a mission. The mission? Take down the Scarred they couldn't handle last time. Vera tells the team to stick to Sumir's orders like glue. When they reach the target spot, Sumir tells them to fire at the ground until she says otherwise. She also plans to use Larry as bait since he doesn't feel pain or fear. Her plan works like a charm. She draws the monster out, giving the team the perfect shot to deal some serious damage. Leslie swoops in for the final blow with his sword, finishing the monster off. When they get back to the surface, Sumir is already waiting for Danny. She opens up, admitting that she joined the military to become a famous sleeper, hoping it'd give her another shot at being an idol. Thanks to Danny, she's finally been able to let her bottled up feelings out. As Danny's about to leave, Sumir stops him and says he's got something he's really good at. She tells him he's great at lifting people up and making them feel seen. Sumir is super sweet to him before running off. Danny watches her leave, smiling, because he finally feels like he's finding his place in the team. Just then, Leslie shows up to tell him Vera's looking for him. Danny heads to Vera's office, where she drops a bombshell. She's got a special mission for him, but he has the choice to turn it down. Danny's floored when Vera reveals the mission. He's supposed to assassinate someone, and completing it would make him a world-saving hero. Daniel steps away to think it over, but it keeps eating at him, making him wonder if taking someone out is just part of a sleeper's gig. Since the squad has the next day off, they plan to check out Cliff Town, and Larry invites Daniel to tag along. Meanwhile, there's this professor nicknamed Iceman who's convinced the world's about to end. He's got a bunch of followers, but his favorite is this guy Hayden, who handles special jobs for him. The next day, the members of Platoon 11 split up to enjoy their vacation, but agree on a time to meet back up. Daniel sticks with Larry since he doesn't know his way around Cliff Town. The first place Larry hits up is a shop selling sketchy black market medical equipment. That's when it clicks for Daniel. Larry's dead serious when he says he cracks open people's heads. Soon after, they come across a dealer getting hassled by his customers for not delivering the goods they need. Without hesitation, Larry jumps in to help the guy, but Larry pushes Daniel to step up. Daniel gets attacked, but somehow, without even thinking about it, he takes down all 3 thugs like it's no big deal. Larry tells Daniel that he's basically superhuman because he's a sleeper. That's why he can take out regular people so easily. Just as they're about to head out to meet the rest of the crew, the dealer stops them and offers them a job. He wants Daniel and Larry to snag some seeds from a specific tree in the asylum. These seeds, called Vista seeds, are basically drugs. The dealer has another sleeper working for him, but the guy's gone MIA, so now he's dumping the job on these 2. Daniel's all ready to turn it down, but Larry jumps on it before he can say a word. Apparently, sleepers pick up side gigs like this, and Larry's down for anything since he's not scared of squat. He leads Daniel to a secret path that takes them into the asylum. Once inside, Larry takes them way off course to a spot that's not even part of their mission. The place is like some hidden oasis. While Larry's explaining things, they run into a young girl. Daniel's shocked to see another person in the asylum, but Larry explains that the people here aren't really called humans. They're known as exiles. No one's sure if they're originally from the asylum or just refugees from from somewhere else. Larry strolls up to the girl and shows her a picture of the Vista tree, asking if she knows where it's at. But Daniel snatches the phone away, telling Larry not to mess with the little girl. Daniel then tells the girl to scram because it's not safe for her to be around someone like Larry. The girl shakes her head and takes off. Once she's gone, Larry tells Daniel that the exiles actually came from the asylum, but the companies poking around the asylum don't want to cough up extra cash for stepping on someone else's turf. That's why the people living there are called the banished ones. Not long after, the same girl shows up again and motions for them to follow her. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew is starting to freak out about Daniel and Larry. Since they can't get through to their phones, they figure the two are probably hanging out in some underground clubs, but instead, they bump into the three thugs Daniel had roughed up earlier. Back in the asylum, the girl leads Larry and Daniel to the tree they've been searching for. They're stoked, and Daniel gives the girl a pat on the head as a thank you. Out of nowhere, a flying Scarred shows up, clearly gunning for the girl. Their guns aren't the real deal, so they're not going to do much damage to the creature. Daniel shoves the girl to the ground to shield her while Larry fires at the Scarred to keep it at bay. The three of them manage to duck into a nearby structure while the Scarred waits outside, lurking. Up on the surface, Leslie and the rest of the team manage to get a lead on Larry and Daniel's location from a sketchy substance dealer. Meanwhile, Daniel and Larry come up with a plan to distract the Scarred since it's after the girl. Larry volunteers to be the bait since he can't feel pain, but Daniel shuts that down. He thinks Larry's lack of pain would make him careless and get him killed. Daniel insists he's the better choice because feeling pain will keep him sharp and focused on staying alive. Once they're on the same page, Daniel gets ready to put the plan into action. Before heading out, he asks the girl her name, and she says it's Elsie. Daniel takes her scarf and ties it around his back. Then he steps out of the structure, and the Scarred immediately goes after him. While Daniel keeps the monster busy, Larry gets Elsie to safety. Afterward, Larry comes back to help Daniel so they can both escape. But the Scarred corners them, and just when it looks like they're about to become its next meal, Leslie, Kobato, and Sumira roll up in a truck. They slam into the monster and unload a barrage of bullets, forcing it to retreat. Once the coast is clear, Daniel and Larry hop into the truck, and the team heads back to safety. When they get back to the surface, Leslie slaps both Daniel and Larry for being so reckless. She reminds Larry that even though he doesn't feel pain, there are people who would feel the pain of losing him. Later, Daniel goes to Vera's office to accept an assassination mission. He's completely floored when he finds out his target is Elsie. The squad runs into a new kind of bad guy on their next mission. Some exiles who've gone off the rails and are now called cultists. The team takes them on, but the cultists bail once they realize they're outnumbered. After wrapping up for the day and heading back to the surface, Vera calls for Leslie. Daniel's totally expecting to be the one she wants to see, so he's caught off guard when Leslie gets called instead. Daniel's starting to piece together that Leslie's got some serious mystery vibes. Leslie heads to Vera's office, and she tells him to gear up for their planned mission. Turns out, Leslie and Vera are both in the loop about this assassination mission, and Leslie's clearly ready to do whatever Vera needs. Later, Daniel ropes Larry into digging up dirt on Leslie's past. Larry, Kobato, Sumir, and Daniel go through some old photos of Leslie and discover he and Vera have been tight way before their current gig. Apparently, the two used to work as exclusive fashionistas. One of the pictures shows a guy named Hayden, but no one on the team knows him yet. Meanwhile, Vera's got another sleeper working with her, a dude who always wears a mask, so no one can tell who he is. On the flip side, Hayden and his partner Nadia are making moves related to Elsie. Nadia's this young girl who's always got her two pet rabbits tagging along. Hayden's pretty intrigued when he finds out Vera and her crew are about to make a move. Things are definitely heating up for him. Later, Leslie finds Daniel grinding away in the training room, trying to level up his skills to help the squad. Leslie suggests they take a breather and invites Daniel out. He takes him to this bar he likes and grabs a private table so they can talk. Once they're settled, Daniel asks Leslie how long he's been a sleeper, and Leslie says it's been 3 years. Leslie then brings up the assassination mission and straight up tells Daniel not to hesitate if he's gonna go through with it. Leslie heads to the restroom, and while he's gone, the bartender spills some tea to Daniel. Turns out, Leslie used to be a dancer. He tried to make it as a director, but it didn't pan out, so he ended up becoming a sleeper instead. Right as Daniel's phone buzzes with a call from some random number, he steps out of the bar to take it. Out in the hallway, he spots Nadia giving him this intense stare. She hangs up and bolts, so Daniel takes off after her. But before he can catch up, a cultist blocks his way. Meanwhile, Leslie heads back into the bar and hears from the bartender that Daniel left after getting a call. Daniel tries to fight off the cultist with just a rod, but it's not looking good. They corner him in a dead end, but luckily, Leslie shows up just in time to back him up. The two of them team up and take down the cultists. What they don't realize is that Nadia's been hiding nearby, watching the whole thing. After the fight, Daniel and Leslie are left wondering who called Daniel out of the bar in the first place. Leslie's pretty sure the cultists were being controlled by someone. That's when Hayden steps out of the shadows. Leslie recognizes him but plays it cool, acting like he doesn't. Turns out, they used to be a thing, but it ended badly. Leslie immediately tells Daniel to stay out of it, but Daniel recognizes Hayden from some photos he found while digging into Leslie's past. Things between Leslie and Hayden get tense fast, but Hayden makes it clear he's not there for Leslie. He's after the boy. That's when it hits Leslie. Hayden and his crew know about their plans. Freaked out, Leslie tells Daniel to run. Daniel takes off, and when Hayden tries to shoot him, Leslie throws something to distract him. As Daniel's running, he bumps into Nadia again. She sends her rabbits after him to take him down, but Daniel manages to trap them in his coat and keeps moving. Meanwhile, Leslie and Hayden are going at it hard. Suddenly, Daniel hears an explosion from their direction. Worried, Daniel turns back to help Leslie. When he gets back, Hayden's got Leslie at gunpoint. Daniel jumps in, smacks Hayden's hand, and smashes a gas pipe to mess up Hayden's line of sight. Hayden decides to back off, but promises they'll cross paths again. After Hayden's gone, Daniel tells Leslie he came back because he didn't want him to die. Hayden and Nadia return to their base, and Hayden's confident that Elsie will end up in their hands eventually. Daniel's been grinding hard in the training room, and it's paying off big time in real fights. On the flip side, Professor Iceman is majorly let down by Hayden messing up. He roughs him up like he's trash as punishment, but Hayden doesn't even get mad about it. He just thinks Iceman's trying to set him straight for screwing up. Hayden's so obsessed with Iceman's teachings that he doesn't question a single thing the guy does. Then Iceman tells Hayden to go capture Elsie and deal with anything or anyone that could cause trouble, including Leslie if it comes to that. Later, Leslie hits up Daniel and tells him to chill about the mission. He says Daniel's stressing out the team, and nobody needs that vibe. He also tells Daniel to figure out how to work with Kobato since they're both on rear support for the squad. For some reason, Kobato and Daniel start dodging each other. Sumire jokes that Daniel's avoiding Kobato because she reminds him of his ex-girlfriend, but it's totally just a joke. Next, Leslie suggests throwing a welcome party for Daniel since they never got around to it when he joined. The team heads out to grab party supplies, and as usual, Kobato and Daniel keep their distance. While walking, they pass an anime ad, and Daniel can't help but check it out. The team immediately starts grilling him about being an anime fan, but he just shrugs it off and walks away. Turns out Kobato's into anime too, and Leslie's already convinced the two of them are into each other because of their shared hobby. To push them to work things out, Leslie tells Kobato and Daniel they're in charge of grabbing the groceries. Leslie, Sumire, and Larry wait outside the mall while Kobato and Daniel head in. Surprisingly, the two start getting along while shopping. Kobato starts tossing random stuff into the cart, most of which they don't even need. Apparently, her family's loaded, so she's used to doing whatever she wants. After a bit, Daniel splits off to grab some drinks. Outside, Leslie and the others are hoping Daniel and Kobato are finally starting to click. Leslie admits he's been trying to help Daniel fit in with the team. Meanwhile, at the vending machine, Daniel runs into Nadia, the little troublemaker. She gets the green light from Hayden and sends her rabbits to attack Daniel. Daniel bolts while the bunnies are hot on his heels. He makes it to Kobato and yells for her to run. The two take off, sprinting for their lives, but after a few seconds, they decide to fight back. They use carrots to throw the bunnies off and then kick them away like soccer balls. Nadia's not happy when she sees her bunnies getting trashed. She glares at them, promising they'll pay for messing with her cute but devilish bunnies. Right then, a Scarred shows up, ready to take on Kobato and Daniel. Not wasting any time, the two book it before the Scarred fully appears, but they hit a dead end, and there's nothing around they can use to defend themselves. By chance, Daniel drops a quote from one of his favorite animes, and that's when they realize they're both anime fans. This little moment brings them closer, and they decide to team up to take down their new enemy. The two sneak into the basement and set a trap for the Scarred. Once the Scarred shows up, they blind it with smoke bombs and then fire off some fireworks to disorient it. Before it can figure out what's going on, Daniel and Kobato jump from above, hitting it from behind and taking it out. Thanks to their teamwork, they manage to defeat the monster. Later that night, while the rest of the group is eating and having fun, Daniel and Kobato bond over their love of anime, sharing thoughts and ideas about it. In a quick scene, we see Nadia meeting up with a sleeper spy who gives her the details about the mission's date and time. Vera convinces the big shots in charge that Elsie is a serious threat and needs to be taken out. They agree and give her the green light for the hit, but they also make it clear that her squad's future depends on her pulling this off. Elsie is supposedly this child of eternity who's destined to bring chaos to the world. After leaving her boss's office, Vera bumps into Leslie. She's stressed about the mission and asks Leslie if she she should tell Daniel what's going on. Leslie shuts that idea down. Before they head out, Vera gives Leslie a chain and a ring, calling it a good luck charm for the mission. Soon after, Leslie and the squad make their way to the asylum. That's when Leslie finally spills the beans about the mission. He tells the team they're infiltrating a group of exiles. The plan? Dress up like exiles and crash a birthday party. Turns out, the birthday girl is none other than Elsie. The exiles know how important she is, so the mansion where the party's happening is packed with security. Leslie and the crew roll up to an exile village and meet with a contact, who points them toward the mansion before taking off. Before sneaking into the mansion, the squad changes into maid and butler outfits. Leslie pulls Daniel aside for a private chat. Since Daniel's the only one who knows the full story, Leslie tells him he's the one who has to take out the target. The plan is for the team to get into the mansion, find Elsie, lead her to a window, and leave Daniel to finish the job. Daniel asks Leslie why he's going along with all this, and Leslie says it's all for Vera. He explains that Vera's desperate to make this plan work, and he's just trying to help her out. Before heading off, Leslie mentions he left the necklace behind so it wouldn't get lost during the mission. Not long after, Leslie, Kobato, and Larry sneak into the mansion, while Daniel sets up as a sniper from a distance. Inside, Daniel notices Leslie going off script. He's not sticking to the plan, and has split up from Kobato and Larry. Daniel's left wondering what the hell Leslie's up to. Meanwhile, Kobato and Larry realize they're in way over their heads when they see how many guards are crawling around the mansion. To make things worse, the exile leader seems to be there too. Larry leaves Kobato to go look for Leslie, but ends up running into Hayden instead. Hayden knocks Larry out with a sedative. Not long after, Hayden and Leslie cross paths in one of the rooms. A fight breaks out between them. Hayden's packing heat, so Leslie has to defend himself with a random shield and sword he finds in the room. Things get wild as the two former lovers tear the place apart, trying to take each other out. Eventually, they end up in a standoff, but Leslie doesn't have time to waste. He shoves Hayden aside and makes a break for it. In the mansion's main hall, Elsie is greeted by some big shot guests who showed up to see her. Leslie hits up Vera, saying they should call off the mission, but she's not having it. Meanwhile, Hayden catches up to Leslie, and their whole cat and mouse game kicks off again. Kobato finds Larry, who's been tied up by Hayden. Leslie then calls them both, telling them to finish the mission because Hayden's got him trapped. He finally spills the name of the target and where they need to take her. Kobato has no clue who Elsie is, but Larry remembers her from when they snuck into the asylum for those Vista seeds. Hayden corners Leslie onto the balcony, leaving him with nowhere else to go. Trying to grab Elsie's attention, Kobato sets off some fireworks. This gives Daniel a clear shot at her, but he hesitates to pull the trigger. Then Daniel spots Leslie and realizes he's about to be toast if he doesn't step in. Torn between saving Leslie or sticking to the mission, Daniel makes a split-second decision to save him. He shoots Hayden, taking out one of his arms. Hayden screams in pain, which alerts everyone in the mansion. Now the exiles know they're under attack, and things get messy. Leslie chews Daniel out for messing up, but also thanks him for saving his life. Leslie tells Daniel to link up with Kobato and Larry. Meanwhile, Larry and Kobato are being chased by some killer machine. Larry's still groggy from the sedative, so he's struggling to run. Luckily, Daniel shows up and carries Larry on his back. The three of them book it while the machine keeps closing in. On the other side, Hayden's already set up in a perfect sniping spot, just waiting for the right moment to fire. Right when the machine is about to catch them, Leslie swoops in on some flying contraption. He distracts the machine and leads it away from the group. His plan is to lure it off a cliff, but things go sideways when Hayden shoots down Leslie's flying device. Leslie crashes to his death, taking the machine with him. Daniel watches it all go down, smiling through the chaos, hoping the team can still pull off the mission, but then his scream echoes in the distance as it hits him. Leslie's gone. Daniel and the crew head back to base, and pretty soon after, Leslie's remains are brought in too. Meanwhile, Hayden's out there grabbing some exiles as hostages. He's hoping to use them to get to Elsie, but turns out Elsie and her crew already bounced from the mansion. When it's time for someone to come pick up Leslie's stuff, Daniel steps up to help. After they gather her belongings, the lady suggests they take a breather before boxing everything up. She asks Daniel how long he'd known Leslie, and he says 3 months. That catches her off guard. She didn't think they'd gotten that close so quickly. A little later, the rest of the squad shows up to help pack Leslie's things. Once they're done, Daniel asks if anyone's planning to meet Leslie's family, but Larry shuts it down, saying no. Apparently, the sleepers, that's what they call themselves, don't really dwell on death. They're so used to losing people that they don't even stop to mourn or help pack up belongings. Daniel's the first one to actually do it. They've trained themselves to move on fast, so they don't lose their minds when someone dies. Later, Vera calls Daniel into her office to tell him the mission's still on. She says they'll set a new date and time and let him know, but Daniel's not having it. He asks Vera straight up what the mission's all about. She dodges the question, and Daniel gets heated, asking if she even cares that Leslie's gone. Vera just says the dead are dead, and being upset won't change that. She tells Daniel to get ready for the mission, but adds that he can back back out if he wants. Daniel says he needs some time to think, and Vera gives him 3 days to decide. As he leaves Vera's office, Daniel remembers something Leslie told him about a necklace. Before shipping out Leslie's stuff, he looks through it all but doesn't find the necklace. Now he's stuck wondering where she might have hidden it. He's still mulling it over when the team gets called in for their next mission. With Leslie gone, Vera announces she'll be tagging along this time. The team heads back to the asylum and makes their way to the village where they'd met their contact before. They meet up with her again, and she tells them the village chief hasn't come back from some party. Vera suggests they check out the mansion to see what's up. When they get there, the place is totally empty. But Daniel, being the sharp guy he is, figures out that the villagers must have been kidnapped. To figure things out, they need to find a clue. While digging around the mansion, Daniel suddenly remembers that Leslie gave him a handwritten note. The note's full of random numbers and letters that don't make any sense to him. Then Daniel gets called to the garage, where he's shown some tire tracks. Vera tells the team to chase after the car while she handles some personal stuff. Meanwhile, Hayden is still grilling his captives for info. One of the hostages, the village chief, tells Daniel they have no clue where Elsie is. Hayden decides to call it a day when Nadia tells him Vera's with Platoon 11. Daniel and the other two make it to the hostages just in time. There are Scarred in the room, but Daniel and his crew fight them off until Vera shows up. With her badass blade skills, Vera wipes out the monsters like it's nothing. While she's handling the Scarred, Daniel and the others focus on getting the hostages out. But leaving the building isn't easy. Hayden's got a sniper trained on them. Daniel tries to calm himself and think about what Leslie would do in this situation. The team reaches out to Sumir to scope out possible sniper spots. She gives them 2 locations, and after picking the safer one, they spring into action. They fire at the safer sniper spot, but surprise, Hayden's not there. Hayden's about to start mocking them for getting it wrong when Daniel sneaks up behind him and tells him to drop his weapon. But Daniel gets too close, and Hayden takes advantage of it. Hayden knocks Daniel down and is about to finish him off when Vera shows up. Knowing he's no match for Vera, Hayden jumps off the building and gets picked up by Nadia's plane. Back in the village, the chief shows Vera a red jewel he was planning to give to Elsie. Inside the jewel is a ring, and since Elsie isn't around, Vera agrees to hold on to it. When the team gets back to base, Daniel tells Vera he's ready to take on the assassination mission because he doesn't want Leslie's sacrifice to go to waste. Vera's glad to hear it and tells him the mission details will be sent to him soon. The big bosses call Vera into their office to chew her out for not catching or taking down Elsie, but instead of firing her, they give her one more shot to track Elsie and finish the job. Meanwhile, Daniel heads to the bar where Leslie used to take him. He starts chatting with the bartender about Leslie. The bartender admits they weren't really tight since Leslie would always just sit in the corner scribbling in his little notebook. Daniel shows her the note Leslie gave him, but even she has no clue what it means. On the other side, Elsie's head of security, Blake, decides to shake things up by splitting the girls' security team to throw off anyone trying to track them. Blake figures Hayden doesn't have the firepower to hit them head on, but Hayden's sharp. He notices the shift in their setup right away. He's no pushover either. He figures out Blake's strategy and knows the only way to get to Elsie is by working around her bodyguards. Hayden's team needs to figure out the handover spot to make their move easier. Later, Larry tells Daniel about the team's plan to put Leslie's photos into an album to remember him, but as they dig into the photo database, they notice something weird. There aren't as many pictures of Leslie as they expected. While they're scrolling through, Daniel stumbles across a section where he has to enter some numbers. It hits him. The numbers from Leslie's note might be the key. Daniel types them in, and bam, a photo pops up from 6 months ago. It shows Larry and Kobato in the shot, but neither of them remembers why Leslie took it. They just chalk it up to his mysterious vibe. Thinking it over, Daniel starts to believe Leslie knew way more than he let on, especially about the asylum's layout and escape routes. Before Daniel can dig deeper into this, the team gets called for their next mission. They head into the asylum toward the handover spot, but then Kobato and Larry realize the location is near where that photo from 6 months ago was taken. They start wondering if this is all just a coincidence or if something bigger is going on. Vera warns Daniel not to screw this up again because they might not get another shot at taking down Elsie. Daniel heads up to the roof, the perfect spot to take out his target. He realizes it's the same spot where the photo was taken. Nearby, there's a desk, and when he opens it, he finds a necklace and a note from Leslie. The note shows Leslie already knew he was going to die, but he's cool with it because he trusts whoever's reading it. The note spills the tea on what Leslie discovered about Vera. Before Daniel can dive deeper into it, he hears an explosion in the distance. Grabbing his gun, Daniel scopes out the scene and spots scarred monsters showing up at the handover location. Their arrival makes things things way harder for Blake. Meanwhile, Vera and her crew are thrown into chaos, but Vera keeps her cool and tells Daniel to stay put and take out Elsie the second he gets a clear shot. Just to make things even messier, Hayden shows up. He goes after Kobato and Larry, but Daniel shuts him down with a warning shot. Hayden ducks for cover, trying to figure out where the shot came from. The team's in a tough spot, but Vera's laser focused on Elsie and how she's going to take her out. To get Hayden out of the picture, Daniel decides to handle him personally, leaving Larry and Kobato to handle the rest. Daniel and Hayden get into a shootout while Vera and Blake are slicing through monsters like butter. Hayden uses his smarts to give Daniel the slip. Meanwhile, Iceman shows up and snatches LC. He straight up tells Vera that no matter how many times she tries, she's destined to fail. From what Iceman says, it sounds like Vera has the power to rewind time, but he makes it clear that things will always end badly for her. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, everything falls apart, and Iceman makes his escape without anyone able to stop him. As expected, Vera rewinds to the day before. She's already bracing herself to go through the same events again, but things might play out a little differently depending on what moves she makes. Vera heads to the committee meeting where, as usual, the big shots chew her out. Still, they decide to give her another shot at taking down the girl. Meanwhile, Daniel is trying to get Vera to loosen up around him, and he knows he's gonna need a solid plan to make that happen. On the flip side, Vera's busy figuring out how to deal with the mess she's in. This time, Vera's caught off guard because the Iceman already knows about her time rewinding ability. That means he and his crew are making moves behind the scenes fast. Vera purposely picked Daniel for the job since she figured out he's got killer sniping skills, but she still thinks he's a bit of a head case. Vera's chilling in her office, fully expecting Daniel to come in and tell her he's bailing on the mission. Again, she's used to his antics by now. Sure enough, Daniel walks in and says he's got a request. Thinking she already knows what he's gonna say, Vera agrees right away. But then, bam, plot twist. Daniel isn't bailing. He's there to invite her to a team dinner. Vera's totally blindsided, but she already said yes, so there's no backing out now. Daniel leaves all hyped up, saying he's gonna let the team know she's in. Now Vera's freaking out because the thought of sitting down for dinner with the squad is her worst nightmare. This just proves to her that things are starting to shift. When Daniel gets back to the team, they're all hyping him up, saying he's got some serious guts. Nobody's ever dared to approach the commander like that before, and Daniel somehow pulled it off without losing his head. Still, the team knows Vera might try to dodge the dinner, so they're determined to make sure she actually shows up. When it's time to grab the ingredients, Daniel volunteers to handle it. Meanwhile, Iceman has captured LC. He tells her he needs her powers and wants them to merge so he can make his dream a reality. Vera, desperate to skip the dinner, thinks about calling for a training session, but when she heads to the training room, she finds out it's locked up until the next day. Scratch that plan. She tries to use the gate as an excuse, but nope, that's a dead end too. Even rescheduling a mission is off the table since everything's already booked until tomorrow. Meanwhile, before heading out to grab ingredients, Daniel sneaks into the asylum through a hidden route. Daniel finds a chill spot to sit and check out Leslie's notes. Leslie talks about noticing how Vera's been acting all cold toward the team and barely says a word to him. He also figures out that Vera seems to know her way around the asylum like the back of her hand. Just when Daniel's about to get to the juicy part of the notes, that flying scarred creature from before comes out of nowhere and attacks him. Lucky for Daniel, some villagers nearby step in and save him. Daniel tags along with the villagers back to their place and asks about the ring and the red jewel. The village chief tells him the ring's not really important. It's the red jewel that's the real MVP. Meanwhile, Vera's been trying every excuse in the book to skip out on dinner, but Sumir keeps messing with the system and blocking all her outs. They figure Vera's out of options and will have to show up. Then it hits the team. Daniel hasn't come back yet. They start thinking something's off with the guy. On top of that, they're starting to suspect he's keeping secrets from them. The team freaks out and decides to go look for him. They meet up at the gate, but just as they're about to take off, Daniel shows up carrying food supplies. That night, they all get busy cooking dinner, waiting for their commander to make an appearance. After waiting forever with no sign of the commander, Daniel heads over to her office to check on her. He walks in and finds her asleep, but she looks super down. He tries to cover her with a coat, but she wakes up and totally startles him. Daniel says sorry for barging in and explains he's just trying to do what Leslie would have done. He apologizes for being harsh before and promises Vera that he's sticking with her till the end, just like Leslie promised her. Vera grabs her coat and rushes out of the room. She skips dinner but later shows up to join the team for the fireworks show. Everyone's hyped when Vera shows up and accepts their invite. Later that night, Daniel gets called to Vera's office where she drops the bomb. She's kicking him out of the platoon. The next thing Daniel knows, he's waking up in bed with his bags already packed. He doesn't want to believe what Vera told him yesterday, but it hits him. He's actually been kicked out of the platoon. Even his squad mates are floored when they hear the news. Daniel faces the committee, and they tell him it's because he entered the asylum through a civilian route. He doesn't argue. Instead, he just accepts it and walks out. Later, Daniel meets up with his squad, and they offer to throw him a farewell party before he leaves. Meanwhile, Vera keeps sneaking off to meet her masked informant. That evening, Daniel and the crew head to the bar for a few drinks. At the same time, the masked spy meets Nadia, but after giving her the info she needs, she pulls a gun and shoots him. Back at the bar, Larry starts getting in his feelings. It's finally sinking in that Daniel's leaving. Larry spills what's been on his mind. He tells Daniel to open up about whatever's bothering him so they can help. Larry thinks Daniel's been chasing some goal ever since Leslie died and reminds him they've got his back if he ever needs them. But Daniel brushes it off, says there's nothing going on, and steps outside to get some air. That's when Daniel hears the gunshot. He follows the sound and finds the spy crawling on the ground, bleeding out. The spy tells Daniel to forget about him and go. He knows who Daniel is and warns him to get to the commander ASAP. They've been set up. Turns out, Nadia and her crew are planning to steal the Aruka ring. Meanwhile, Hayden has already infiltrated the facility. Vera knows Hayden's coming though, and she's ready. She's got the ring with her, which makes things trickier for him. After Daniel pieces all this together, he lets the team know he's calling it a night. Meanwhile, Vera and Hayden face off. During their standoff, Hayden reveals he knows about Vera's time loop ability. He also brings up Leslie and how he accepted Vera no matter what. Hearing Leslie's name sets Vera off, and she charges at Hayden from behind. Hayden saw this coming and managed to block Vera's attack, shooting her hand and injuring her. The ring slips off Vera, and now it's Hayden's for the taking. But Hayden isn't in a rush. He plans to take Vera out first. Lucky for her, Daniel shows up just in time, smacking Hayden with something and forcing him to call Nadia for backup. Hayden tells Nadia they need to bail ASAP, so she sets off some pre-planted bombs to cause a distraction. Hayden uses the chaos to grab the ring and dip. Daniel's worried, but Vera tells him to chill because the ring doesn't actually matter. Meanwhile, Hayden links up with Nadia, and the two make their getaway on a small plane. After they're gone, Vera comes clean to Daniel. She pulls out a red jewel and explains that it's the real source of her power, not the ring. She tricked the enemy into thinking the ring was the big deal. As her final order, Vera hands Daniel the jewel and tells him to leave the base with it. Turns out, this is why she pulled Daniel from the platoon in the first place. The next day, Daniel takes the jewel and boards a plane to Argentina. While sitting on the plane, he notices Elsie's scarf is still with him. It hits him. He's got unfinished business. Without hesitation, Daniel hops off the plane before it takes off. Meanwhile, Vera and her crew head into the asylum for their mission. Instead of the usual route, they're exploring a new area, leaving everyone a little confused. Daniel finds the monitoring room, and Sumir clues him in on where the team is headed. Daniel takes off running to catch up with them. Vera's team reaches a church, where they find Iceman gearing up to fuse with Elsie. All hell breaks loose as Iceman's crew and Vera's team go at it. Daniel fights his way to the church, only to find his teammates' bodies scattered on the floor. Then, a fully mutated Iceman steps out of the church, looking straight up horrifying. He fires a laser blast, and just like that, Daniel is gone. Next thing Daniel knows, he's waking up in his room, just like the day before. His bags are packed exactly the same. He figures everything that happened must have been some wild dream, but little does he know, he's about to head down a strange and terrifying road. Daniel steps up to face the committee like always, and they lay it on him why he's getting kicked out. As they talk, Daniel gets this weird deja vu, but the red jewel in his pocket reminds him it's all real. Later, while hanging out at the bar with his crew, it clicks. Nadia betrayed the spy and attacked him. Daniel wastes no time and tells his team he needs backup. Daniel and Sumir race to the lobby and catch Nadia in the act, attacking the spy. She's caught off guard and bolts. Daniel corners the spy and demands answers. The spy spills the tea. Vera's in cahoots with someone on the committee. It's a shady deal where Vera's using the director for her own goals, and the director's riding Vera's success to boost his career. Turns out, the spy was also selling info to Nadia, which is why she went after him. The spy tries to warn Daniel about Vera, but Daniel's like, I got this. Just then, Larry and Kobato show up to save Vera, but Hayden still manages to take off with the ring. After all the chaos, Vera figures out she's lost her power to rewind time, meaning someone else has it now. Moving forward, Vera and her crew head into the asylum like always, but this time, Daniel decides to tag along. He tells Vera he's not there as part of the squad, but on his own terms. Vera's crew storms the church while Daniel hangs back, ready to provide sniper cover. Iceman pulls out the ring, trying to lock down Vera's power so she can't rewind time anymore, but he quickly realizes he's been played. While Vera's busy fighting Iceman and Hayden, Kobato and Larry sneak into Elsie's room to rescue her, but Iceman catches on fast fast and rushes over, snatching Elsie right out from under their noses and dragging her to the ritual room. Before things can go south, Vera manages to fuse with Elsie again, but it's too late. Vera, her team, and even Daniel all end up dead, failing to stop Iceman. Then, boom, Daniel wakes up in his room, his bag already packed. It's like hitting rewind on a bad movie. Everything starts playing out the same as before, but this time, Daniel realizes he needs proof. He and Sumir leave the bar and rush to the spy, who's in the middle of getting attacked. Daniel asks the spy if he knows anything about the red jewel, but the spy's clueless. Now Daniel's left wondering if he messed up somewhere along the way. So Daniel switches gears and goes after Nadia. He catches her while she's busy messing around on her computer. Nadia manages to slip away, but accidentally leaves her communication device behind. Daniel taps into it and starts eavesdropping on everything Hayden's saying. During Hayden's chat with Vera, Daniel learns that Vera's been looping through time too. After hearing all this, Daniel finally pieces together what he needs to do. He heads over to grab Elsie's scarf from his stuff. Then, Daniel sneaks into the church to get Elsie, but before they can dip out, Iceman catches them. A fight breaks out between Daniel, Iceman, and Hayden. While Daniel's holding them off, Nadia sneaks in and grabs Elsie. Luckily, the squad rolls up to the church just in time. Vera and Daniel chase after Elsie. On the way to the ritual room, Daniel spills the tea to Vera. He's figured it all out. Turns out, Vera's been trying so hard to kill Elsie because Elsie is actually her younger self. Vera knows that taking out Elsie will erase her from existence, but she's ready to do it to stop Iceman from getting what he wants. While they're hashing it out, Iceman merges with Elsie and transforms into this super evil being. His power's off the charts. He wipes out everything in the area, including the military base. Daniel doesn't make it through this, but as expected, he loops back to the day before. This time though, he's locked and loaded, ready to do whatever it takes to stop Iceman from pulling off his plan. Daniel's about to go through the same old loop again, but this time, he decides to shake things up. He spills the beans to his crew, telling them everything from start to finish. He lays it all out so they're fully in the know. Once they're clued in, the first order of business is taking care of Nadia. They manage to tie her up and snatch her little plane, taking her out of the picture. Meanwhile, Hayden's about to mess up Vera, but Daniel swoops in just in time to stop him. Hayden tries to get Nadia to set off the bombs, jokes on him. Nadia's already out of commission. Now the whole base is on high alert. Hayden heads for the roof, but surprise, Nadia's not flying the plane. Kobato and Larry are. This forces Hayden into a shootout with Daniel, but here's the kicker. Daniel already knows how many bullets Hayden's got left, so he's got the upper hand. That's when Hayden realizes Daniel's been looping time too. Backed into a corner, Hayden decides to go out on his own terms. He walks to the edge of the roof and jumps, telling Daniel that Iceman's still gonna win in the end. After that, Daniel heads to Vera's room to break the news. Her powers are gone. Turns out, Daniel now has her powers, which he got from either her future self or her past self. Time travel's weird like that. Daniel feels for Vera because he knows she's been through hell. He's only died 3 times, and even that's been brutal, so he can't imagine the pain Vera's endured from dying over and over. That's why he's all in on freeing her, no matter what it takes. Just as he's about to leave, Vera stops him, tears in her eyes, and says there's no way to fix this unless Elsie dies. But Daniel drops a bombshell. He already knows Vera is Elsie. Nobody told him. He figured it out himself. Vera doesn't even try to argue. She knows Daniel's made up his mind to save her, no matter what. Meanwhile, Iceman finds out Hayden's dead, so he decides to fast-track his plan. Daniel and his crew have made it into the asylum, but Iceman's got a horde of monsters ready to throw down. Too bad for him. Daniel's not about to let some freaky monsters stand in his way. When the monsters are about to take over, Vera shows up just in time. Looks like she's ready to help Daniel save Elsie. Once everyone's on the same page, it's easier for them to take down the monsters and make their way to the church where the ritual's about to go down. When they get there, Iceman's feeling cocky, thinking they can't stop him. He merges with Elsie and traps Vera, trying to keep her from messing with time again. But here's the kicker. Vera doesn't have that power anymore. This time, Iceman's got a problem. The fusion isn't complete, so his power's all over the place. With Iceman's power acting up, Daniel and his crew see their chance to attack. They chop through the monster's tentacles, and Vera breaks free. She goes after Iceman with her bad ring blade. Daniel comes up with a plan to stop Iceman before he fully merges with Elsie. He wants to combine the red jewel he's carrying with the one Vera has, thinking it'll take Iceman out for good. Daniel volunteers to get up close to Iceman while the rest of the team has his back. The fight kicks off, and everyone's giving it their all. At one point, Kobato almost gets fried by one of Iceman's blasts, but Larry steps in and blocks it with his hand. Since Larry doesn't feel pain, he holds out long enough for Kobato to counterattack and land a hit on Iceman. With Iceman down, Vera and Daniel make a mad dash toward him. Daniel reaches Iceman and uses everything he's got to shove the first jewel into the energy core. Iceman stabs Daniel with his claws, but Daniel's not not giving up. Even in excruciating pain, he manages to push the second jewel into the core. The reaction between the two Aruka stones triggers a massive explosion that destroys Iceman's mutation. As Iceman goes down, the sky clears up, but Daniel's seriously injured and fading fast. Vera rushes to him, but Daniel tells her not to worry. He feels at peace, even though he knows he's about to disappear. Bloodied and beaten, Daniel tells Vera he has some regrets, but is grateful for the life he lived. Before he vanishes, he hands Vera the surviving Aruka stone. As he fades away, his essence flows into the stone. When the rest of the team shows up, Daniel's already gone. Vera reassures them not to be sad, saying she's sure Daniel will come back someday. In the post-credit scene, Vera's chilling in her office when an adult version of Daniel walks in. She immediately knows it's him and greets him like an old friend.